So recently I was given this power chair to, if I need stuff outside and stuff like that, and I appreciate it, but it brought up a conversation that I thought we'd make a little video about, and that's the way you're seating in a chair and why seating and posture is important. I had to make some changes to this chair because when I sat in it, my feet weren't quite touching the foot plate down here like it should, and the arms are too low, and I thought, well, it'd kind of be an interesting video to talk about why that is. And if you're a full-time wheelchair user, then you know what it's like to get fitted for a wheelchair and why everything is custom and how they measure the angles and where your legs are. So I thought we'd just talk a little bit about that and why that's important. For those of you that wouldn't know and are trying to learn about disabilities, especially spinal cord injuries, then depending on your level of paralysis, that has a lot to do with your balance. So I'm a C5, C7 incomplete, which means if I was completely paralyzed and had a complete injury, I wouldn't have much function in my arms. So I do have function in my arms because I'm incomplete, but because of that, I have a lot of spotty muscle and sensation throughout my whole torso. So I have pretty good use of my upper muscles, but I don't have very good use of my lower muscles, and even some of my upper muscles are kind of weak, so it really affects my balance. So when I'm sitting in my chair, feeling pretty snug and tucked in with my custom measurements, I feel very stable for the most part. But if I were to get on the edge of my chair, I don't. So one of the things, you want to make sure that you're fitting right, even for the sake of your body, even if you're sitting in a chair. So if your foot plate is too low, then your leg is going to be point down like that, and the back of the seat is going to be cutting off the back of your leg, pressing on the back of that leg, and that can cause a lot of swelling. It can encourage blood clots, which is already kind of a risk for us. So you want to make sure that your foot plate is not too low, and if it's too high, if you have a foot plate that's really high, then all your weight is now being distributed just onto your back tailbones, and that can put a lot of extra pressure on those back bones because it's not being evenly distributed across your whole leg to hold your weight. So it's kind of good to have your legs, they pretty much want them at a 90-degree angle. I sit with my wheelchair where my knees are just a little bit higher than my rear end because it makes me feel a little more stable. When I'm at a perfect 90-degree angle, I feel really tipsy. And so I like just a tiny bit of a dump, but I also have to be a little more alert to doing pressure releases and making sure that I'm not getting too much pressure back there with just that much of a dump coming down with my knees a little bit higher. So you want to make sure those angles are right. And another thing I want to discuss is if you're missing this muscle strength in your core, then you're not getting these muscles when our backs are supposed to start at our necks and curve down and curve back in. All those muscles help hold that in. When you lose that muscle structure, all that suddenly wants to bow you like a cat. You don't have the muscle stability to keep you up and in the proper posture, and that can give you a lot of pain, and over long term a lot of scoliosis and things like that. So you want to make sure to take care of your back care. In my chair, you probably can't see it, but I have actually a piece of foam added into here as a lumbar support because I don't have the muscle strength to keep my back in the shape it needs to be. I just would curve in. And so I was having a lot of pain, and my physical therapist actually thought, let's put in lumbar support, and that really, I still have quite a bit of pain, but where the pain was happening at that time, early on, it made a big difference. So I'm a really big advocate now, making sure you have good lumbar support for good posture in your back, because whether I can bow that back in and make sure I can't, but to know that posture support is there and pushing that in for me, that's really good for the long-term care of your back. So just make sure that you're sitting in your chair properly, make sure it's fitted to you properly, make sure you feel stable. Just sometimes a few tweaks a little bit can really make a big difference in how you feel. So just wanted to talk about posture today, and I was about to hop in this and go outside and play with the kids for a few minutes for fun, and it made me remember that I had adjusted the arms to get them higher for stable and get my feet, so I felt a little more stable in this chair, which is just a generic jazzy thing, but still just tweaking it a little bit made me feel so much more comfortable in that. So make sure your chairs are like they're supposed to be, take care of your long-term health, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.